talking about when you're saying about the difference between like how people can pick up your style. Do you ever find that maybe a bit of that comes from your origins? Because I remember when we worked, the first thing that we did together was I've forgotten what it was called, but that the film you did, I think, when you were 19.
Yeah, so I'll give some context to the listeners. So I met Scott because I hired him to do some visual effect shots, actually, for the restoration of my short film, Hero for a Day.
How's it here for a
Yeah,
day?
Hero for a Day was the first movie I made out of film school. It's very much a post 9/11 movie. It's very much rooted in a young, naive, conspiratorial male mindset. I wouldn't say it's a great movie. At this point, it's a movie that I had to restore because all that raw footage has more meaning for me than the actual movie. Because I grew up with every single person in that movie. And I grew up on that island where we shot. And I don't live there anymore. And I don't know those people anymore. How they look now is nothing how I remember them. So whenever I go back and I see them, I'm like, huh? And then I'll go back to New York for a few years, and they'll always revert in my brain as being from the version
How
of
they
that
were.
footage. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I can't. My brain won't update them, and so I'm like, I gotta archive this. And the only way I'm gonna seriously archive this footage is if I do a full restoration of the movie. Also, it was kind of a practice run for what's coming because I'm really into this idea of kind of taking all my old content and seeing what I can do with it as more of a side project.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we never did with that movie is we didn't do proper visual effects. So, I went online, I found you. You helped
Yeah.
me with some of the visual effects. And then I found out you're a sound mixer. You have an ear for music and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't. So I'm like, all right, why don't I hire you to do this as well? Because I wouldn't mind having a proper sound design too. And everything that I couldn't do when I first made the movie, I wanted to do for this. And you were kind of instrumental in actually giving me that capability. So
Oh, thank you.
that's how we met. I got a camera over here. I'm going to occasionally talk to you. That's how we met, everybody.
Sure.
And so going back to the shooting style is really, it's out of necessity. I can't afford insurance for permits. In the United States, that's a massive hustle to the point where it's kind of dodgy, right? To get a permit in any town, you need at least $1 million insurance policy to shoot anything. The moment you put tripod down, you're at risk of getting fined. So everything gets handheld, no matter what, no matter how small or large we are. And in New York, even though you can legally use a tripod, there are certain security and NYPD people from the 9/11 era who just don't give a shit. If you're filming, you're
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
potential terrorist. So I rooted my whole aesthetic in just handheld. The only time you see it tripoded is if we were in an open space where there aren't a lot of infrastructure
Yeah.
or in the basement. All that basement footage.
It's interesting because I feel like, because obviously I sort of make films here and there when I'm not working on other stuff, and it's funny because when we did the Hero for a Day, the one thing that really made me like keen to kind of take the project on, because at that point, and even with Fractals, I'd gotten to a point where I sort of decided externally only to work on stuff that I actually, not just for financial reasons, but going on, is this something I would like to be a part of? And it's interesting because Hero for a Day really reminded me of a lot of the films that me and my brother would make when I was a bit younger. And in that whole kind of, getting old camcorders and just going out and filming. And I just really could relate to kind of what you're doing. And it's funny because we did a film back in when I think I was 10 and my brother was 12. And it was kind of a similar premise as all the sort of friends we had at the time in this film. And a few years back, I decided, I want to try and add VFX and all this. And I actually never finished with that. But as soon as you kind of explained the project, I just instantly was like, I understand exactly where this is, what the intention is here. And so from that, I kind of felt, real understanding and a desire to kind of work on it. And obviously that led on to Fractals. But no, it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense with the handheld as well. Like saying it can be tough here as well. Filming, you know, you have to pay a lot of money and you have to, you know, clear it. And we've had it in the last few years, shoots where, you know, police have shown up, or, you know, it's gotten a bit risky, especially if using certain props and stuff. But I can imagine in New York as well, especially, it must be, you know, a real challenge.